you beautiful and sexy creature. Welcome to Practice Intimacy. This is the place to be to learn all about love, sex, and how to have the best relationships that you possibly can. My name is Jami Lynn. I'm a marriage and family therapist. And today we're talking about Tantra. Tantra is one of my favorite practices in the world, honestly. There are so many beautiful practices that you can find and use to really cultivate peace, knowing yourself, diving deeply into yourself, and moving through the world with greater intimacy inside of you. There are tons of practices that can do this. There is not one that is better than another. It's just what's best for you. And so finding the right practice for you is actually what's essential. And for me, that has primarily been Tantra. And so that is mainly what I will be focusing on this channel, is different practices to do out of the Tantra lineage and the way in which it's affected my life. But truly, in the end, it does not matter which type of practice, which lineage of practice you choose. All that matters is that it speaks to you and allows you to come into greater relationship with yourself so that you can bring more intimacy out into the world. Before we actually get started with the subject of Tantra, remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave comments for me if things come up as you're listening. I love reading your comments. And share this with people. We are trying to get the word out about how to be a more intimate being in this lifetime. And anyone that we can bring into this circle to move towards greater connection with themselves and with others, I think is a good thing. So invite folks here. Let's get started. Tantra is a practice that originated in India and has really kind of moved throughout different places in Asia. So there's different types of Tantra if you look at how this particular system spread in the world. And I'm mostly trained in the traditional Indian Tantra. That is where most of my training has come from. But I also love reading about Tibetan Tantra. I love reading about Taoist practices from China, which also has a little bit of like a Tantra lean to it and some influence from Tantra. But Tantra specifically started in India, and there's some disagreement about time frames. Some people say that it's 5,000 years old. They base this on sculptures that have particular postures that we use in Tantra practices. But it's inconclusive. There is no certainty. This is an oral tradition, and so there's no way to know exactly how old it is. But whenever they started writing down scriptures, the different books on Tantra, that started around 1,500 years ago. And so as far as records go, we're going to say that Tantra is 1,500 years old. It is probably older than that because it is an oral tradition. They would teach lessons through mantra, through singing, through communicating practices and learning them by heart and teaching it guru to student down through the generations. And here in the West, unfortunately, we have come to associate Tantra to mean sex practices. And it is not just that. No. Tantra is about accepting the fullness of life. It is actually a pagan practice. If you get down to the root of it, it's about looking at nature, looking at all of existence, and attempting to bring aspects of that into your own being through practices. And so some of what people are doing today that is actually traditional Tantra would be yoga practices. Hatha yoga, what most people are practicing in studios today, that is a part of Tantra. That is out of the lineage of Tantra practices. But Tantra is more than just that as well. So in the end, Tantra is a way of moving towards enlightenment. And in this tradition, the way that you do that is by liberating yourself from the material world and coming into contact with the spiritual, timeless, eternal world. And there's really a couple of paths primarily in Tantra. There's what they call the right-hand path, which is often more what you might associate with like a monastic lifestyle, lots of discipline, transcendence through liberation from attachment to life and all things in life. And so this is like a very disciplined practice of renunciation, renouncing all claims, all attachments to life, and instead just living from a place of austerity. There's the left-handed path, which is more along the lines of what I practice and what you might call the Shakti side of Tantra practices, the more feminine side of Tantra practices, where you use everything in life to reach enlightenment, including sex, including relationship, including death. Every single thing that is part of being, you can use that to experience transcendence rather than renouncing everything. And then there's a middle path that kind of combines them both. There is no right path, like I said at the beginning. Anything you do could bring you to greater states of intimacy, awareness, connection to life, connection to a sense of meaning or spirituality. Anything you do could bring you there. So it actually does not matter what you choose. It's just about what speaks to you. And in the left-handed path of Tantra, what you're doing is allowing all of life to speak to you, every single aspect of it, including the taboo. And the idea here is that there's more energy in things that are taboo. And so if you can come into relationship with that, acceptance of that, and allow it into your being rather than pushing it away, that you could actually open yourself up more and more quickly than if you were to do a different path. Again, like I said, just choose what works for you. In the end, it's everyone's life journey to find what helps them come into greatest relationship with themselves in this lifetime. And so one of the main things that you might learn if you choose to practice Tantra is really honoring what is, rather than fighting against life's struggles, joys. Yes, we do fight against life's joys. We think we don't, but so often people are unwilling to accept joy out of fear that it'll go away. And so really coming into an experience of loving all of life, accepting all of life, embracing every single thing that happens to you, that is a Tantra practice. And then there's very, very specific things you can do to help yourself get to a state where it would be easier to accept all of life. And it's all kinds of things. It could be an asana practice, the different postures that you hold that can help your nervous system relax into discomfort. It could be a mantra practice, which helps quiet your mind and train your mind to be one-pointed and focused. It could be a breathwork practice that helps you move out of the thinking part of your mind, your neocortex, and into the lower parts of your brain, including your brainstem, which deals with rhythm and regulation of body function. And when you start doing breath work, you can actually affect the brainstem part of your nervous system, which is hard to do otherwise, because it is an unconscious part of us. It is not something we consciously, thinking-wise, have a control over at all. Or you might use sex practices. Feeling the ecstatic joy, feeling the bliss, feeling the turn on, feeling the intense experience of being in a sexual state and using that to reach enlightenment. When I say enlightenment, the thing that I mean is in flow with all of life, in acceptance of all of life, in a state of being in love with your life. That is enlightenment, at least as I understand it. And so Tantra can be all kinds of things. And my invitation to you is to try on this particular model for reaching an enlightened state of being. It may not be the one for you. That is totally okay. But allow yourself to see. Maybe it will be. And so let me just share one tiny practice. We'll do it together. And we'll do it for a moment because I don't want to take too much more of your time today. But imagine first connecting to your body. Feel your body. Feel the movement of blood. Feel the movement of air. Feel the tingling sensations on your skin. Feel any place where you're making contact with a surface or with air or with clothing. And then imagine allowing your body to dissolve into the rest of life. Starting with your feet and your legs. Imagine just letting your body go, letting all of the atoms separate and be part of everything else. Moving up to your pelvic bowl, letting it dissolve. Your torso, all of your organs, your lungs and heart. Just imagine it releasing form and being a part of everything else. Your arms, your hands, your throat, your jaw, the back of your skull, the sides of your skull, your ears, your face, starting with your lips and nose. Just let it dissolve. Imagine yourself completely moving into non-existence as you flow into the rest of existence. Your body will not be, and you'll be part of everything. And then ending with the brain and the top of your skull, let it go. Let everything go and imagine your whole body dissolving and becoming just a part of everything else. And feel for a moment what that's like. For some people it might be scary. You might find it to be exhilarating, freeing, terrifying, a relief. Just notice what it's like for you. And then take a breath and notice your edges again. Notice that you do seem to have edges, although that's not actually the reality. I'll get into that in a moment. But move your hands, move your toes, and slowly blink your eyes open and come back. Whew. This is a particular meditation that you would find in the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. It's a classic text from the Shivaism, Kashmir Shivaism Tantra. And I love this meditation. It's a fun one. And it also matches with physics. The reality that even though it seems like we are different, I'm touching a table with my hand right now, it seems like we are different. And yet, anatomically, we are all made up of the same stuff. It is an illusion that we are separate. And there are actually atoms from my body that have traveled around the world from another person's body, which is wild to think about, but true. And so I love this Tantra practice because it actually speaks to something that is accurate. We are always dissolving into not being and becoming part of the greater universe. And at some point that will actually physically happen too. Your body will one day rot and decompose and become something else, and it'll be other matter. And so I love these practices. I think they're just true to life. I think they're a wonderful way to come into reality more and more, and to take yourself a little less seriously, even as you experience your full and inherent worth and value, which sounds completely confusing. How do those things go together? I don't matter and I do matter. And yet they do. And it becomes easier and easier and easier to hold that kind of paradoxical knowing as you become more integrated. And one of the ways to reach a more integrated, enlightened state is through Tantra. We will keep doing practices here together. I hope you enjoyed this one. Feel free to leave me comments. I love reading your comments. Feel free to share this video if you think there's somebody who could benefit from it. And remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate your support. I appreciate being on this journey with you. We are all just floundering around trying to figure out how to do life. And I am never ever going to say that I have the way. I just have a way that has worked for me and many of my clients and many people throughout history. And even as I say that, there's a part of me going, yeah, I don't have the way. I am lucky enough to have learned from brilliant people who also learn from brilliant people. We are all standing on the shoulders of giants, attempting to help ourselves and each other live better lives. I mean, why else are we here, right? Okay, I feel like I'm done. That's all for today. I hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful week. I will see you next time.